I do remember when I was in the university, and at the end of every semester exams, I have to be assessed. I will write the exams, and then I'll be assessed by my lecturers. And on the day that the exams will be released, I will not have comfort in my heart. I'll be full of fear and uncertainties and pessimisms. Why? Because I have done something and somebody needs to judge what I have done. And I am not sure of myself whether back then 70% was A, but if you get below 50%, then you have failed. Either you have to rewrite the exams, but if you fail more than 4 times, you're gonna be withdrawn from the school. You cannot continue again. So every semester, it's as if every student is in fear. Every student don't know the outcome of the results of the exams she took previously. So we are uncertain, we are in fear, and we are in doubt until the exams is released. And if you have 70%, then you have A. And if you have below 70, maybe you have B, and below 50, you have failed. So why are we in fear? Because we know that we are not up to the standard. And that is what happens when you do something and you give it to somebody to judge you. You know that you are not up to the standard, so you are in fear. In the same way, if we believe that God is a judge and God is going to judge us by what we do, and we know that God is coming, so if God is coming, am I good enough to stand before God's judgment? We are in fear of that. We are in doubt of that. Because looking unto yourself, you know that you are not perfect. Well, in the university, you know the pass mark is not, the first class is not 100%. 80% is the first class, or 70% is the first class. But you know, God requires 100% before Him for first class. If you want God to accept you, or God to say you're a good person, then God requires 100% from you for first class. It is not 90%, it is not 99%, it is not 70%, it is 100% for first class. So anytime you hear the judgment of God, or anytime you think that God is coming, then you are in fear, you are in doubt, you are in uncertainty, and you are in pessimism. It happens to every student, but I use the exams aspect to explain to you how judgment works. So the reason why everybody's afraid when God is coming is because we know we are not perfect. It's because we know that we are not up to the standard. Of course, nobody's up to the standard. I am not up to the standard. You are not up to the standard. So by our good works to stand before God, then we all stand condemned. Nobody can be declared righteous in the sight of God because he's a good person. God is so much justice that every single sin that you have done will be brought before judgment. Have you ever sinned before? It will be brought before judgment. If you ever even had wrong imagination in your mind or in your thinking, it will be brought before judgment. And don't think that I'm a good person, so maybe God is going to consider me. No. If God sits on his righteous throne to judge, there is no consideration. It is justice that God is speaking. But today I stand here to tell you about the good news of Jesus Christ. Because I have already told you how you cannot stand before God's judgment because you're a good person. Because God requires 100% from you. But I'm going to tell you another way to stand before God, and God will see you as 100%. And that way is the way of Jesus Christ. Now you know that you don't qualify to stand before God by your own. You know that you don't meet up to 100% perfection for God to accept you. Then the other way is to put your trust in Jesus Christ, the perfect person who never sinned. He came as a man, he never sinned. Nonetheless, he took your place of sin, and he was punished of all the sins that you have committed or will ever commit. Jesus Christ was punished of those sins. So now, if you don't see yourself as a perfect person, then there is no need to put your trust in yourself to stand before God. You put your trust in Jesus Christ to stand before God. Then you say, God, I am a sinner. In your sight, I will be condemned. But today I put my trust in Jesus to stand before you. And because Jesus Christ is righteous before God, and he took your sin punishment on the cross, then God will not see you. God will not judge you by what you have done, but God will judge you by what Jesus Christ did on the cross for you. This is the other way. So there are two ways. The way of your own works, which you stand before God, and that is the way the whole world is going through. There are people who don't acknowledge God. They believe there is no God. And there are people who also believe there is God, but they are also in error. It is equally as believing there is no God, because they are also in error. How? Why are they in error? Because they are going after the way of their own works to stand before God for God to accept them. But if you go after your own works, your own good behavior, to stand before God for God to accept you, if he finds one sin, he's going to condemn you. Then you're going to say, God is not wicked. How can God condemn me because of one sin? If a judge sits on his throne, a judge condemns sin. A judge does not save people because they are good. If somebody is good in all his time and he has one sin in his life, the judge condemns him of sin. The same thing related to God. God will condemn you because of sin. So if you stand before God because you're a good person and you have one sin, then God will condemn you. And this is the way the whole world is going through. Everybody wants to stand before God because they are good. But God said, no, that is not how I want it. I want you to stand before me because of my son Jesus Christ. And when you stand before me because of Jesus Christ, then I will accept you as righteous person. This is the way God has put in place, that through him, everybody should have eternal life. Everybody should be saved and to be forgiven. So which way do you want? You want to stand before God because you are a good person? Or you want to stand before God in Jesus Christ for God to accept you? Now, the acceptable way is Jesus Christ. God has put his stamp on Jesus Christ, that whosoever will put his trust in Jesus, he will accept him. But the other way, God has already declared that he will never will he accept anyone because they are good. But it's up to you to make a choice, because he has put the two ways in front of you. He said, I put before you life and death. But it's up to you to choose. But he said, I suggest to you, choose life. But which way do you want? He can't choose for you. You choose death, you live by death. You choose life, you live by life. But God cannot force anyone. I cannot force you. God has given everyone the free will or the free choice. Even though he gives you the suggestion. He suggests to you to either to choose life or to choose death. Today I also present to you Jesus Christ. If you believe in Jesus Christ, God will justify you even though you are not a good person. God will declare you righteous even though you are not a good person. Why will God declare you righteous? Because Jesus Christ, 2,000 years ago, the righteous was condemned of the sin of the unrighteous. The one without sin took the place of the one who is with sin. And when he took the place of sin, he was condemned of your sin, so that you will take his place of righteousness and you will be saved by his righteousness. The message is simple. Which one do you want? Now, Jesus Christ's death can be in vain in the sense that he died for sinful humanity. However, if we as sinners don't receive what he did for us, it is equally as he never died for sins. Then somebody might say, I am too sinful, Pastor, to come to Jesus Christ. Did you hear the message? Jesus Christ died for sinners, and only sinners qualified to come to Jesus. First degree sinners qualified to come to Jesus. He didn't die for third-degree sinner. He didn't die for second-degree sinner. He died for first-degree sinners. Are you a first-degree sinner? But the good news is that we are all first-degree sinners. We are all first-class sinners. But you might say, I am not a sinner. Well, if you are not a sinner, it's up to you. God, the judge, will examine you if you are indeed not a sinner. But I am a sinner, and I put my trust in Jesus as my lawyer. And Jesus Christ defends me before God, the righteous one.